We knew it would be cool to have you guys on and to talk about this lifestyle. Okay.
And we want to mention to those who are listening just to the audio version of our show to definitely check out our YouTube so they can see our field trip to your dealership. Life's Third Act is a podcast dedicated to helping you get the most out of your retirement. Sponsored by TuckerAllen, Attorney-CPA Joe Cordell features guests each week to discuss prominent topics for those over 55. Here's Attorney-CPA Joe Cordell.
Welcome to another episode of Life's Third Act. This week ought to be a lot of fun, Jill. We want to talk to you about something very positive. Some of our recent episodes, I know they're helpful, and I'm convinced they're interesting to you because we work at that. But sometimes they relate to things that are not, as happy to talk about or not as fun to talk about. Sometimes, the end of life issues, et cetera. So we want to talk about what makes life's third act, that last third of your life. What can make it fuller, more pleasurable than the previous two? And this is an example of that opportunity today, an opportunity that, believe it or not, you could consider. And we want you to hear from some people who've chosen to use their retirement years in I wouldn't say original way, but a way that's not common, meaning there's not a lot of people doing this, but I think there'll be a whole lot more people doing this soon. Do you want to make an introduction, Jill?
Yes, I do. And we have a full house today. We have Bill and Nancy Thomas. They're the owners of Bill Thomas Camper Sales in Wentzville, and they have also traveled in a motorhome during retirement. And their daughter, Billi Jo Eubank, who is an event planner with the business. And we want to thank you all for being here. I want to start off, first of all, asking you about when you started your business. How many years ago was that? That was in the 60s?
Yes.
Wait, now what business was that, though? We need to set that up.
Bill Thomas Camper Sales.
So you started out in the business of camper sales.
Well, how it started was my dad was in the automobile business, and I was home from college, and I worked for him. And one day a guy drove into the dealership in a pickup truck with a camper on the back of it. And there were 17 salespeople, but they went the other way when he drove in. They knew he wasn't going to buy a car. So I started talking with him. What he was doing was looking for someone to set up a dealership to sell truck campers.
Now, how old were you at the time?
22 years old, yeah. First time I'd ever seen, and anybody else had not seen a truck camper with a bed over the top of the cab, a dinette seat that would fold and make a bed, a little sink, a 2-burner stove, and an ice box.
Now, Belle, what year was this?
About 1962 or 3, I don't remember
early
exactly.
60s, yeah.
Okay.
But the reason that's not when I started my business. That's when this all came about.
Strong roots are essential for a healthy tree, especially your family tree. That's why you work hard to take care of your family every day. At TuckerAllen, we know that taking care of your family means planning for the future. Our team provides personalized estate planning to help you protect your family, your legacy, and your future. From wills and trusts to long-term care and estate planning, count on TuckerAllen. Personalized estate planning made simple.
Being in the car business, the customer may be the same person, but they're different when they're buying a car or when they're buying an RV. But back then they were called campers. They didn't start calling them RVs till many years later as a recreation vehicle. But anyway, I talked my dad into buying 3 of them. And they were enormously high, $800 a piece.
$800, and that's nothing today. For
$800, and we bought 3 of them, and they shipped them here from California, and put them out there on concrete blocks right in front. And the sales guys, they just went the other way. But some customers came in from Chillicothe, Missouri, a man and his wife, first one, and I opened the door, and they went in and sat down, and they said, "How much are you selling this for?" $1,295. That was the retail price.
But they would have to have a pickup truck for this to go on.
Yes, they had a truck. And they said, "Well, let us talk about it a minute." And I said, "Okay." And then they said, "Yes, we just wanted to find out whether we were going to finance part of it or pay cash." And we decided we'll just write a check for it. Okay, thank you. And
so that sold the first one.
That sold the first one. And I don't remember, but I sold all three of them because the other guys were car people, you know, they were selling cars. And after that, I said to my dad, I said, "You know, these people they don't need one, but they want one." And that's a different situation. You know, it felt like that way to me. And so I remember saying to him, "You know, someday I'd like to have a business where all I sell is campers and not cars."
And you were age 22.
Yeah. And he said, I don't think the camper business will ever be able to stand on its own, but it might be a nice sideline to the car business." Well, after a few years, in fact, within a couple of years, I opened up a store on North Lindbergh, my own lot. My rent was $135 a month, and I took my $150 check, which is a net of $126, and opened up Bill Thomas Camper Sales. And so that's where it started. And
the rest is history.
Yes.
So you were selling cars and campers, or just campers?
Oh, just campers. That's when I left my dad's dealership, and that was in 1965. But in the meantime, my uncle, he opened up a little lot there for me to run to sell campers, and then I decided to be in business for myself, which he helped me do, and he floor planned them for me, so to speak, you know. And I had to buy 3 at a time, and I would have 25 or 30 of them at a time, and everybody started buying campers.
Yeah. And, you know, I never heard of an Airstream before. You told me what they were. They're those silver vehicles.
Yeah.
And I did not know what those were. And then when you described them, I'm like, oh, yeah, I see them on the highway all the time. And then, you know, getting to go on our field trip to the dealership, saw so many of them, and they were just so gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I mean, they really were.
They're known as kind of like the Rolls Royce, are they not?
Yeah.
Well,
they're top of the line.
Yeah.
And I might add that I started then on July 15th, 1965, that I was Bill Thomas Camper Sales. And then in January of 1967, I signed up to become an Airstream dealer.
Really? In 67?
Yes, in 1967.
So how long had Airstream been around?
Since the 30s.
Okay, so it was well established.
A guy named Wally Byam founded Airstream.
Well, it wasn't really well established because not many people were buying Airstreams.
Right, so it wasn't widely known at the time.
Yeah, but you were onto something, apparently.
They had several dealers at the time, but not in St. Louis. And so we became the dealer in 1967.
Where were you located?
On North Lindbergh, right across from the old airport terminal building on North Lindbergh. And I was there 35 years. Then the airport bought us out, and we moved to Wentzville in 2000.
Okay.
I bet some of our viewers remember.
Absolutely.
I'm sure.
They would have to.
We have sold thousands of Airstreams.
Thousands.
Now, of all the motorhomes you could have chosen to travel around in, why did you choose an Airstream?
Well, the thing is, Airstream didn't build motorhomes until, there was other people building motorhomes at the time. So I was a dealer, so I had an Airstream motorhome, and I also sold a product called Holiday Rambler, and they built.
I remember Holiday Rambler.
Yeah. And I signed up with them just a year or two after I started with Airstream.
So what makes you talk about why Airstream is a great product to own and to travel in as an insider and somebody who's traveled in?
Well, their claim to fame is the trailer. They've built motorhomes before. They were really never as successful as somebody that built a square box motorhome
that had the vehicle built inside it, so to speak.
Yes. Well, no, they would buy a chassis, just the rails and a steering wheel, and they would build everything on it. And then it could be on a Ford chassis or a Freightliner chassis or whatever. But Airstream, they were never as successful in the motorhomes. Sold a lot of them, but nothing like the rest of the industry. They became Winnebago. They were started in Iowa, and they were the start of the motorized Class A motorhomes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
well, so then, but and I do now that you mention it, I remember that the first Airstreams I saw were trailers.
Yes,
and they were very nice looking. And so what are the advantages of having a really cool place that you're traveling, staying in, that you can detach from your vehicle versus where the vehicle's built into the motorhome?
The whole difference is motorhome or travel trailer. And then, they even make now what they call fifth wheels. It's a trailer, but it fits up in the back of a truck on a fifth wheel, like it has an overhang on it. But Airstream's claim to fame is the round and shiny classic trailer that when you see it coming down the road, there's no question you know what that is.
And what are the advantages, though, of this travel trailer versus motorhome?
Well, being able to, say, take your vehicle somewhere and park the trailer and a pad, have it all hooked up, water, electric, sewer, and then have your vehicle to drive.
Yeah, to go where you want.
Right.
That seems so much better to me. I often wonder when, I know that you sold a lot of motorhomes, but still, I've often thought the idea that you have to take your home with you to go down to the gas station.
No, you always pull something.
We traveled a lot in a motorhome, and we towed. They make all the cars now are made to where you're able to put them in neutral, not cars necessarily, but
some sort of vehicle.
Say a Chevrolet Suburban or their smaller ones. And they make a tow bar that hooks onto the front, and you tow that. And when you get there, you unhook it, and you've got your car to drive around, and you leave your motorhome there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I see that. But I still, the idea of a trailer seems...
well, there's a lot more travel trailers sold than motorhomes.
There are. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well, and the Airstream just seems more user-friendly to me than one of those huge RVs that, are like mini mansions. And I always think of that movie with Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz, the long log trailer, where they're driving up that mountain, and it's really, you're on the edge of your seat, so scared for them. But they do
Some of our listeners will not know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on. Everybody knows that movie. But they seem more user-friendly to me.
Well, in our business, Airstream builds now a motorhome, but it's really it's built on a Mercedes chassis. And you thought you bought about 5 of them for the price. They're very expensive, but they're first class.
What's tell me approximately what that would cost.
About $275,000.
Man, oh man!
Wow.
Yeah. Has slide outs.
Has what?
Has a slide out on it, and it's
a slide out making the room bigger.
Yeah. Oh, so those are.
But it's if
I've seen that.
If you have a Mercedes car, it has all the bells and whistles. It'll park itself. It'll do all these things. So will this motorhome. They build it. The Airstream is the only one that builds it with every.
What do they call it? Do you know? I mean, but it's similar.
A Class C. We call it an Airstream Classic motor. I mean that's.
So let me go back a step, and then we'll come forward. So you sold your business.
No.
No.
Okay, is the business still there?
Yes.
Yes, in Wentzville.
Okay. So when you said we moved to Wentzville, you were saying you moved your business to Wentzville.
Well, the airport bought the property because we were right across from the old airport on North Lindbergh,
North County.
the old airport terminal building. That's where we started. And then they started talking about buying up that property to expand the airport, add another runway.
So you just sold the land and then you moved to Wentzville. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear on that. So the lot that you visited was theirs. Yeah. So just so that's clear, in the videos you're seeing, actually belongs to Bill
we've been
and Nancy.
there now over 20 years in Wentzville.
Right.
So now what are your plans for this business? Is this going to become a family heirloom or something?
Well, her husband, my son-in-law, I own the company. He runs the company, and I stay out of the way. I do peek over their shoulder once in a while.
Well, Nancy, what do you do? Do you participate?
Some, not not a lot. I used to work in the business.
Well, you direct Bill, and Bill directs them, so maybe that's
Well, we're still kind of involved.
My son-in-law Bradley is well-educated, and probably had no idea that he would ever wind up in the RV business. His dad was a FBI agent.
Oh my goodness!
From Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
And he was a banker.
And he was working for my bank.
Yes. Look what he gets into. Right.
Well, I don't think he'd ever been in an RV before.
No,
he married me.
No.
Well, he must be a quick study, though.
Yeah. There were a couple of things I wanted to add about. You were asking about, why an Airstream over, a different brand, let's say. I mean, there's all kinds of good brands. I do think Airstream is designed to be aerodynamic. They're aluminum. They're very lightweight. So Scott, when we were out at the dealership, I think he explained to you that, certain trailers need a certain vehicle to tow with.
Right.
Airstream, I think you can go it's a lower capacity.
Well, it's no doubt the easiest travel trailer to tow because of its shape. You pull it down with the wind, and it's smooth. And that was the founder, Wally Byam. That was his claim to fame. In fact, when I first became an Airstream dealer in 1967, we went to where'd we go? What was it? I don't remember. But anyway, the guy got up and spoke, and he said, "Here's 10 things."
We were in New Orleans.
New Orleans. That's where it was. Anyway, he said, "Here's 10 things that if you will do, I guarantee you'll be successful." And one of the things on there was have a vehicle hooked on to an Airstream. So when someone came in, you took them for a test drive towing this Airstream. And the older the car and the more uglier it was, just make sure it runs good, because that's what that was their selling point. And that really just embedded in everybody that they, but I also remember when the first Airstream went over $10,000 retail price, I said, "You guys are crazy. There's nobody going to pay $10,000.
Who'd have thought? Now, when was that? What year? Ballpark?
1967.
Oh, it's 10,000?
Yes.
Wow.
67?
And a new truck was $2,500. So
that's a big number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
if you compare it
and
to
everything
a truck.
is relative,
Today.
as you go move on, how much you make, how much things cost. Gas was 22 cents a gallon.
Boy.
Nobody's as old as me. When the thing is, when I started out doing this, I was selling Airstreams to my grandparents. They were all, I was like 24 years old. So
there was an appeal.
They were 60-year-old people retired.
Well, let me ask you. Let me take this out of my ear. Let me ask you that question, though. What % of the people who buy these are people who are over 60, would you say today?
Not anymore. Not like it was. It was. And what's really strange about it, and Bradley showed me this the other day, the average RV buyer now is 33 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean it's the classic Airstream buyer. Those are generally people that are experienced enough to know that it's worth the investment to buy this. And the other thing Airstream had going for it, it had a club. that you had to own an Airstream to be a member of this club. And if you see an Airstream coming down the road, it's got red numbers on the front top of it. And you can pick up your book with your Wally Buying book. Oh, that's 2207. That's Bill and Nancy Thomas from St. Louis. Wave to them as they go by.
But there has been a 62% increase in recent years of people 55 and older buying.
Absolutely.
You know, and especially since, you know, the pandemic, people that, you know, we've seen more people doing that. It was a safer way to travel.
Well, they can work in it.
Well, sure.
They can travel to Florida and still work. Everybody was working from home.
If they're working from home, that's I don't know how much of a big impact that had, but a guy's sitting at home and he's looking out the kitchen window and he's working and he sees snow on the ground and he does have an RV.
He can go.
We could be doing this in Florida.
Yes, RV sales definitely increased during the pandemic for that reason.
Yeah,
people that work from home could now work on the road. Their kids weren't in school, so they could, they could do virtual learning with their children and work and travel and just see the world, the country rather.
Let me ask you then about what it's like to when you travel in, say, an RV or even as a trailer, travel trailer. Are there places that are abundant where you can stay? Is it restricted to some extent as to where you stay? Tell me about that as you travel
one of
the
the things, what's really changed the availability is finding them. Used to, it was in a book. It was a thick book like a telephone book, Woodalls, and it was divided by state. And you go in there and look, okay, this is so-and-so, it's on Highway 67, and we can call them. Let's call them on the phone and make a reservation to be there and so on. But now you don't need the book anymore. They don't even make the book anymore. It's all online. And you can just put into your phone where you want to go and list the RV parks. And they're usually not right on the interstates that you can see them because the property is too expensive.
Yeah.
But it's maybe a mile or two off the side to find. We've traveled to Alaska and back, and but that was way back in 1973.
They had
and we had and they had a book that was called the Bible for the highway that going to Alaska. The Alcan.
So you all went to it. Now, when you would go to Alaska, you would stop and stay how many nights along the way somewhere?
We
never stayed anywhere but in the Airstream.
I know, but I'm saying, how many stops would there be? Would you travel like a couple hours a day or 5 hours a day or 8 hours a day?
We were with another couple and their kids, and they had their trailer and we had our trailer. And we knew pretty well along the Alaskan Highway. There was a book that was the Alaskan Highway, and it's mile markers. And it would tell you at what mile marker there was. And most of those were not full hookup places. They were just pull-off areas where you could park.
Yeah.
Well, the highway was still, it wasn't.
Now, since you've retired, what are some of the favorite places you've gone?
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, okay.
Oh, wow.
How about
all of up in the north, California and Washington, Seattle,
Washington,
and all the places in between. There's
Michigan.
It was
Michigan.
They're all nice.
What's the longest number of days you've been on the road in your travel trailer?
I guess 9 weeks when we went to Alaska.
9 weeks? Mm-hmm. That's a long time. And you
with all 3 kids.
How old were your kids at the time? Billi Jo, do you remember?
I was probably 3.
So oh, wow. This was a while ago.
Like weird, random things. But I see lots of pictures, so that may trigger my memory. I'm not sure.
Now, the campgrounds are probably better now then.
Oh, of course.
You were saying that they weren't quite so nice.
They're like a resort, like a spa. They've got everything there.
They can be.
They got golf. They got pools. They got stores.
You'd be surprised how many casinos have RV parks. When you go and you pull in there and park, man, they're glad to see you. And this price is really reasonable. And you just raise that flag out in front, looks like a mailbox. Just put that flag up, and the bus will come by and pick you up and take you up to the casino.
Wow.
And
now that's smart.
That's good marketing.
They didn't just dream that up, you know.
Look, if somebody can afford one of those Airstreams, casinos
it's
would
not
love
only,
to.
You know, I think when we talk about this as being retirement and so on, it really should be talked about as an RV, a recreation vehicle, whether it be a motorhome, whether it be a travel trailer. I mean, other than a motorhome, so many different brands made, but there's many different styles of travel trailers. And Airstream is the classic because it's older than anybody else's products. A lot of people that would say we're going to retire and go to Florida and spend a lot of time, they might want a travel trailer with slide outs and more living room in it, a place for a washer and dryer and every amenity.
Yeah.
So is it realistic to, say, for example, go to Florida in an RV and to stay for an extended period of time in it there, to park it and for a couple months?
Absolutely.
Lots of people do that.
They're called condo lots. You can buy a lot.
Yeah, see, a lot of them guys developed these RV parks, Hilton Head. I mean, they've got a couple of them right on that island that one is just for motorhomes and the other one is just for travel trailers.
And people own the
And they own the site. And while you're not there, they rent it out to people to...
And you get the income.
So that it doesn't cost you much to do it.
Now, Billi Jo, you had told me about something called Harvest Host.
Yes.
What is that exactly?
Well, it's interesting to me. I actually just found out about it, and I think it sounds wonderful. So basically, if you're familiar with Airbnb,
right?
Say, a lot of people go to the Airbnb website or the app, and you just kind of type in where you're going. Well, with Harvest Host is you pay an annual fee to be a member. It's $99. And if you go to their website... A year, yes.
Okay.
It's an annual fee. And really, I mean, you can just go to their website and pull it up, and it has a map of the United States, and there's these pins everywhere. There's like 3,998 Harvest Hosts in our country. So what it is if, let's say, I'm making a trip to California and I plan my trip, I'm going to go through Colorado and Utah and Arizona and make my way up. Well, I can call or go online, book my stays at a Harvest Host, and it's totally free. It is boondocking, which boondocking means no hookups. So you're not going to have water or electric, but your travel trailer or your RV would be, self-sustainable. Like you've got your water and solar panels and self-contained. Yes.
Right.
So most people probably stay 1 or 2 nights. It's more or less a stop along the way, but they have them at wineries, distilleries, farms. They just ask that you patronize their business. So if they have a winery, maybe you buy a couple bottles of wine, or if they have a restaurant on their farm, they would like for you to come have dinner with them or whatever.
So it's a win-win for both.
It's a win-win for both. And I mean, I think if you go to their website, I mean, they have more than just what I'm listing. I think they actually partner with art museums in bigger cities. So I don't know how that works, but I know that they've partnered with other museums and things like that. So,
and what's the fee for membership?
It's $99 a year, and that's all you pay for the whole year. So you could travel all year to Harvest Host and stay for free if you wanted. But I think a lot of times people use them just to get from point A to point B, stopping along the way.
Generally, if someone's doing that, they're traveling. So they're not planning on stopping at a host just to stay 4 or 5 nights, because they wouldn't have hookups.
Right.
If you're going to stay somewhere, you want to just be in an RV park that has the pad with water, electric, and so on, and even shower houses and laundromats and things like that.
And the beautiful thing about RVing, you're always at home when you're in your RV. You take everything, like when we travel, I take my crystal and my china and all the beautiful things you have at home. So, I mean, it's great. I personally don't want to stay in a motel, not in today's world.
Yeah.
And so the couple that we traveled with, they like to cook and I like to make the salad and set up the tables. And we always had beautiful dinners.
And to play cards every night.
I mean, it's just a wonderful way. You take all the things you love with you, your clothes,
And still be on this great adventure on the open road.
Exactly, and get away from the city. I think I always say to my husband, I think the reason that people today are traveling as much in RVs, fortunately, we live on property. You know, we got a lake in our house and woods. But people that live in an apartment or in a neighborhood where your houses are like this, how wonderful to get in your RV and go out in the country and go to the Harvest Host would be great, or go to RV parks. I mean, it's a wonderful way of life.
And there's lots of places that, like if a guy's got an apartment, you can't park the trailer out in his front yard. There's places that store trailers. And that's a business in its own. A guy has a little piece of property out in Wentzville off Highway N, and there might be 100 campers parked in there. You have an assigned place and a pass key to get in. There's, you know, that's where you store it.
So is that often an issue with maybe the bylaws of certain neighborhoods?
Absolutely, yeah.
You've seen that come up where they forbid that.
Right.
Is that common? That's typical?
Yes,
I think so.
Depends on the neighborhood and
where you park it.
And if you don't, they don't like to see them out front. If you've got room to move it to the back, you don't get any. Right. You know, if someone complains, and they can go to the city and
neighborhood association.
That used to be in the beginning a problem that people would buy one and they didn't have a place to park it, or they'd park it on the street in front of their house. Well, that
doesn't go over well.
So a cost, I guess, to owning one then is someone would have to figure that they'll need to park it somewhere. What does it typically cost if you park?
Store it.
Storage.
Store it, I guess is the word.
I haven't never stored one, so I don't really know.
I know. That's one question I don't know either.
You don't have to do because you all live out on acreage.
Well, we have a lot. I mean, we have a business. We can.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there you go. You've got a whole lot.
Put it on the lot.
But we have, if we were using one for an extended period of time,
we keep it in our yard.
It's parks in our driveway. We have plenty of room to park an Airstream, where we've had a 45-foot diesel pusher motorhome in there, and we hooked the car on it.
So have you had anybody over the years, especially in recent years, who has lived long-term in one of those? You know, you hear about people doing very adventurous things, and like, for example, there are people who live on cruise ships. Believe it or not.
That's true.
And it's not very expensive.
They retire.
That's right.
If you do the math, it's amazing how affordable.
Well, that's what you call full-timers.
And there are people who live full.
Oh, yes.
It's a common
what
thing.
What do? They go to south when it's warm, and they go north. I mean, when it's cold north, they go south, and vice versa.
Yes.
And they have places.
That is amazing. So you can live full-time if you're willing
There's
to.
a lot of people that live full-time. And not necessarily retired people. You know, the Airstream has its own section of the club that are full-timers. And
I didn't know that was a thing.
And what's nice about Airstream Club, too, they have these called the freewheelers. These women that are widowed, or men that are widowed, or the women are not married. Yeah, they call them freewheelers.
I love it.
And and when we go to these rallies and things, the freewheelers have their place to park, and they have their own cocktail parties and all that. And
are they the fun group?
Yes.
All right, let me tell you, Bill. I know the statistics on this. There are probably a lot more women that are freewheelers.
but
there are.
Well, then when the guy shows up,
he gets married.
He gets a lot of attention.
I bet.
Yeah.
Usually they marry each other.
I'll tell you a quick story if we can.
Sure.
We have a home in Arkansas on Bull Shoals Lake, and there's a campground behind us. And I walk the dog every so often, and I look at people out there in their RVs. And I was walking along one day, and this is last year, and there's an old Airstream, and there was a guy standing out beside of it. And he was cooking something, and I got my dog, and I walked by. I said, "Boy, that's a nice old Airstream you got there." And of course, he'd known me from Adam, and he said, "Yeah, it belonged to my grandmother." And I said, "Really?" "Yeah." So I stopped, and he comes out. We talk. "Come on, you want a cup of coffee or whatever?" And he said, "Yeah, my grandmother." She owned this Airstream, and then I got it from her. And there was a chair sitting there that had the name Jenny on the back of the chair. You could see it. And I said, was that your grandmother's chair? And he said, yeah. And I said, was her last name Rogers? And he says, yeah. And I said, well, Jenny Rogers, her first husband, they bought a couple of Airstreams from me. Then he died, and she married another guy in the Airstream club.
Because his wife died.
What a small
his
world.
wife died. And then he died, and then she sold her Airstream. But in the way, when the first one died, she decided she wanted an Airstream motorized van. It was built on a Ford chassis. And I started telling the grandson, I said, I sold her that, and then when she married the other guy, she got rid of her trailer, and then he died. So then she wanted a van so she could drive it and still go to the rallies where
She's
they
a freewheeler.
had once a month.
Apparently.
But she was older.
And he says, the one thing I remember funny, I took her for a test drive in this motorized Airstream. She was driving, and I felt like we were going 90 miles an hour. She'd been used to driving a small car, and we're going out. And I said, Jenny, you got to slow down. And so I wind up ordering one for her, and she lived in Kansas City. She came to St. Louis to get it, and I had a little sign made that mounted on the dash. It said, Bill says slow down. She sold the van and married another guy, but no more Airstreaming for her. And he says, she's in assisted living in Kansas City. She's 94. Let's call her. I'm going to FaceTime her. He takes his phone, calls his grandmother, and he says, guess who I'm talking with? And she says, who? And he says, Bill Thomas. And she says, Bill. And she starts talking. And then she says to her grandson, you remember the sign on my little motorhome? He's the one that put the sign, Jenny, slow down.
I love it.
I mean, that's...
Now, how did you remember her so well, though? I'm impressed that you would...
Well, RV business is different than anything else with regard... It's kind of like you get married to all of them.
Because you have a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Especially with Airstreamers.
It's particularly the Airstream Club, because they have rallies where there might be 50 Airstreams show up, and they spend the weekend together.
It's a community.
Yes.
They have
And then they
potlucks
have
on Saturday
international rallies where...
See, I could do this.
There would be...
It's wonderful. It really is.
Yeah, I think so.
3,000 Airstreams. Notre Dame in their area up there, the rallies there. They're going to be in Sedalia, Missouri in 2024 again for a second-time rally, and there'll be 2,000 or 3,000 Airstreams. And,
wow. Quite a club.
It's
a very big club.
Kind of like Harley Davidson people.
Very good.
Very similar.
Yes,
the following.
Yes.
It's a brand loyalty. Mm-hmm. And for years, you had your own rally. It was the Bill Thomas Camper Sales We Are Family Airstream rally that was in Sedalia every other year.
You probably accumulated a lot of members over there.
Talking about Harley, well, Harley bought Holiday Rambler at one time.
Harley Davidson
really?
owned it. They're the ones that bought it from the original owner, a guy named Dick Klingler.
So they were kind of like in the
Rambler. And they knew what they were doing. Yeah.
That is fascinating. Particularly the fact that some people have chosen to, as a lifestyle, live in. I'm curious about the cost. If you obviously you have the cost of the vehicle, whatever that is, and the whether it's a trailer or whether it's a RV. But and you said you can use the word RV to describe all these categories, right? Yeah. So somebody might pay, what do you think, on an average, on a nightly basis to stay in these? I know that there are wide ranges.
I would, if they've got, there's different prices that they'll price. You could park in a spot that's called a pull-through site, and that's where you just pull in and don't have to unhook. You're just going to be there for a short time, plug it into electric, hook it onto the water, put the hose into the sewer, stay there, and the next morning put your slip back and drive right out. Now, the ones that they have to back into, particularly a travel trailer or even a motorhome, in a motorhome they may not have to unhook their tow vehicle that they're towing behind it So that and the nicer parks probably, I don't know, how much would you say it costs us? Good, just if you're driving down the highway and you pull into a motel and you want to stay at
$100 a night.
Well, it's not that expensive generally, and
I may be a bad
most
reference.
East and West Coast campgrounds average $50 to $60 a night. Midwest would be a little cheaper, $30 to $45, and then your state parks are going to be less expensive than your private parks. And like my mom was saying earlier, like some of these campgrounds, especially like in on the East Coast and West Coast, they have like they're like resorts more or less. So you have your RV there, but there's swimming, there's tennis, there's golf, there's all these amenities. So it depends on what you want. You can go from the extreme of boondocking to a state park, or Corps of Engineer has a lot of great parks, which are always like near lakes. And
so there's the gasoline expense, but then what about your utilities? Are those run through your?
If you stay in a park like that.
It's included?
That's included in the price.
Okay, yeah.
Water and electric and
it's
sewer.
not like separate.
No.
But there's a lot of parks that are privately owned that somebody comes in, spends a lot of money to build this. They've got a swimming pool, they've got a golf course, and they've got these pads, and you might pay $100,000 for that pad. And then you go back every year. You're not paying them anymore. This is you own that. And while you're not there, a guy that's not an owner of a place will go out there and rent that spot.
Rent that out.
And then they get a percentage of that.
Yeah.
They figured it all out how to make it balance out. But it's traveling in an RV is cheaper than traveling and staying in hotels and eating in restaurants.
Yeah. Much nicer.
So you can travel in your pickup truck and stay in Motel 6 and eat at Steak and Shake.
Or the diner.
Or you can...
I like those diners. Yeah.
But no, I hear your point. That would be a very interesting option. So see, one thing we, wrapping up here, what we like to introduce to the people who watch this show is the fact that there are ways that you can spend, a couple decades of your life that might be different from what you had in mind. I mean, there are lots of creative ideas. And
that's
to me,
true.
This seems far more practical than those who have said, I'm going to live on a cruise ship for 6 months. I mean, to me, that sounds...
a little much.
Well, in your RV, you can bring your pets. You can go see your family.
Oh, yeah.
And most people that have an
more.
RV have a pet. Mm-hmm. They have a dog or a cat or several dogs.
Absolutely.
So that lifestyle is very pet-friendly.
Very
because there are cool places that
I would
pets
say
can
that
run.
90% or more people have an animal in their RV.
Which is a good thing.
That
Yeah.
would
Being the
always at
animal
home in your
lover
RV.
like I
The
am.
thing is, another comment I might make, instead of paying the full price for a brand new one, most dealers trade all these in, and then they check them over, and then they sell used, and you save a lot of money. And the difference between if you pack the wheel bearings and make sure everything's all set, it's just as good as a new one.
And so what might somebody spend for a nice RV? I don't know how to give you parameters, but just something that's nice. Give us some idea if it were used.
Well, anywhere, it's everything now, if it's brand new, is probably in the 25 to 50, 60,000. And then Airstream's even more, they're big dollars. Their most expensive one's about $175,000.
But used, he asked. He wanted to know about the used trailers.
Oh, used ones would be a lot less, But
so somebody could get $150,000, for example, RV used for maybe what after 5 years? Would it be 100?
And maybe yes, it depends on the condition.
Yeah,
But
sure.
particularly with Airstream, you could line up 10 different Airstreams out there. Nobody could look at it and say, well, that's a 2002 and that's a 2009.
because they look very similar.
Yeah, and it really
And they
doesn't
hold their
matter to
value
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter to the buyer, if it's got what they want with a king-size bed or twin beds and it's got a washer and dryer and a fifth wheel and, I would say the people that don't know anything about it need to go to the RV shows and go through or pick a dealer out that has a lot of inventory that you can see all different phases of it.
And one thing that we do, you always have people stay on the lot when they buy an RV, if they're new owners.
We have 10 overnight pads at our dealership where if you're a newbie or someone new and you're literally about doing, but you're buying one, we have it just like you're going to be in a park. It's on a pad. We have guys that show you how to work everything.
They get to learn how to do it.
Spend the night in
101, right?
Yeah. Spend the night in it and bring your stuff, cook in it, and then the next morning when you've got a problem, you're not 100 miles from us.
That's good.
And
really
you can say,
I think.
Oh, it's
most
huge.
of the time it's not something that's went wrong. It's that you didn't know how to operate it.
Yeah.
Maybe you weren't listening to the guy when he
because if you're new, there's a lot of things different.
Yeah, right. You're trying to absorb a lot of information.
It's kind of a marriage, when you sell somebody one.
So how long is it conceivable for a RV to last? If somebody buys, let's say a new
I'm
one.
restoring a 1968 Airstream.
So decades would be the answer to the question,
well, particularly Airstream, because they're they were the first ones that there was other little trailers, but they were not like an Airstream,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we want to mention to those who are listening just to the audio version of our show to definitely check out our YouTube so they can see our field trip to your dealership.
That's nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let me say in conclusion, this is not an infomercial, meaning as I often say on this show, we have people on and we talk about products and services and places that we're interested in and that we think you're interested in, but we have no financial relationship with any guest on this show. But we knew it would be cool to have you guys on and to talk about this lifestyle as an opportunity. I don't think a lot of people, everyone you see is considering it, but I think there are a lot of people that don't know that they can choose to do this.
That's true.
There's a lot more than there used to be.
Yes, I think that's the big thing.
So as we wrap up here, though, be sure and hang around and watch the video that immediately follows this. You get to actually look at some RVs and to see and get a feel for it. And I think that you'll find this video very interesting. This has been another episode of Life's Third Act. Till next time, take care.
Taking Life's Third Act on the road. We are here in Wentzville at Bill Thomas Camper Sales, and we are here looking at an Airstream, which I never heard of before, but we are going to learn all about it. Pretty cool. Let's take a look.
Okay, so this is a tabletop right here that normally is on top of that.
Right here? Okay.
Yes, that's your tabletop. This would be basically where you would have breakfast or lunch or dinner, and then you can take the tabletop off, take the pole out, put a cushion in, and now it's more sleeping.
More sleeping. Underneath your legs, you can also pull that drawer out, which makes more sleeping area.
Like a trundle bed.
Yes, exactly. Just like you just pull this out.
Whoa!
It's got this in.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
The interior is just like the exterior. That's something they started doing in more recent years. They haven't always, but I love this look. It's all the aluminum on the inside too.
And I take it this is the master bedroom.
This would be the master bedroom.
Ooh, nice mattress. And you've got a TV. I love it. You have to have a TV.
And the thing about Airstreams, there's plenty of built-in storage. If you're caravanning, you're going from one destination to the next, you need all your stuff put away. Otherwise, when you get in your trailer, it'll be flying all over the place.
The babies are the ones for like the small SUVs, small cars, and everything, but you're going to have everything still. A dining room booth, a bed, a full bathroom, kitchen area, everything.
Back in the day, this is how all the Airstream cabinets were. This is kind of a retro look that they're coming back with.
You got your little fridge. No beer.
Then you put some magazines in here. Your magazines,
and then you hang your coats.
Coats, keys, whatever.
Keys. I love it, goofball. You guys do have fun here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We run the fun business. This is another Globetrotter. This is the 30-foot. This one is the big lounge area.
Okay. Ooh, I do like this one.
This is very comfortable.
This is kind of nice. You've got lots of space for your dinner party. Maybe spend Thanksgiving here.
And I say this is also a good place to go for like the wineries or something.
Yeah.
If it's raining, you can all be sitting in here and
drinking some wine.
And I said these all have solar. So now you can live off the grid for a while.
I've thought about doing that.
Now this one has twin beds up front. People are loving it because you get a longer hallway.
Oh.
And then when you get out of the shower, you have a better place to get dressed. And there's more storage underneath those beds.
2 TVs in one Airstream. Now, how much does something like this run, ballpark?
This one will retail right around $123,000. The smaller one, probably around $120,000.
Okay. Now, could you fit a turkey in here?
A small one, small turkey breast. Let's open up that middle cabinet right there. Oh, I'm sorry. Push the button in. Push your microwave.
So you keep your microwave in here?
Yes.
Oh, that's really convenient.
It is.
And you just tuck it away.
Gives you more counter space.
Very good.
If you have nosy people trying to look in.
You get privacy. Pull down the shades.
Pull down the shades, but you still have all this fresh sunlight coming in.
I really...
The Airstreams are meant to last generations. By looking at this, can you tell this is a 2000 model year?
No.
No. They keep their value. This one is actually 23 years old.
Yeah, it kind of has like the 90s feel, I guess.
Yes.
It does. It actually has the 90s feel.
So you have your big little lounge area here, tables that come up in case you want to eat here at the table. If you want to eat in the dining room, you get lots of kitchen space, lots of storage. Lots of people are buying the older ones and they make it just something else. People use them as traveling pets, grooming. We had a guy bring his in here for work. It was a barber shop.
Really? A barber shop in one of these?
One of these had 3 chairs and everything, and he travels around and cuts hair.
Wow. Now, how much does something like this one run since it's older?
Well, this one's older. I mean, cut the value's only at like $39,000.
This is only $39,000.
Yes.
Now, I like this. The sink and everything. Yes, this is very homey, I think. $39,000, I might buy it.
Let's go. Let's go talk. Sold. This is a Grand Design Solitude. Now this is a front living. Especially this is great for when you want their own little space and to relax at nighttime. Instead of just having one couch, you have a huge living room on top.
Ooh, now I like this. This is a house. I love it.
Residential stovetop, residential oven. You can put a big turkey in this oven.
Okay. Now I like this.
That booth.
Look at the refrigerator, how big it is.
And then back there is your master bedroom and your master bath. If you want people going to your bathroom, to go to the bathroom, you have a half bath right here.
That's your guest bathroom.
Guest bathroom.
Okay. And you got your little kitchen area here to eat.
Your pantry, all these.
Oh, and look at the lighting. Oh, beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And up front is the front living. Telescopic TV that goes up and down. 2 sofa sleepers, 2 recliners.
Okay, I gotta see the living room area.
TV goes up and down with a nice fireplace. Those are great.
A fireplace.
And both of those make into beds in case they have any grandkids that are night.
Now, how much does this one run?
This one was sell right around $125,000.
Well, I guess I could sell the house.
Yes, that's what people do. But you gotta see the bathroom.
Okay.
So it is raised up. That gives us all this doors on the outside. So we have a king bed in there with another TV.
Now, this looks just like a bathroom in a home, in a regular home.
Dual sinks, walk-in shower.
A Jack and Jill sink.
Yes. Also a cabinet back there to put a stackable washer and dryer in.
Okay, I want this one.
These are nice. Anything we sell here is nice.
Very nice.
We don't sell any entry-level products. Everything's all high quality. Because if you get something entry-level, it's going to break down.
Sure,
have little issues, and you're not going to be a happy camper.
Literally.
Literally.
No pun intended. Okay, so now that we've had our tour, we are heading back to the studio. Yes, I'm driving one of these babies. Aaron, Justin, are you afraid to drive with me? Maybe a little bit. Okay.
Teeny bit.
We'll give it a whirl.